What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So this is a series where I stalk some Koreans and go over some new picks that are doing much better with the new 617 patch that just hit so far. Anyway, like this if you do, dislike it if you don't. Let me know your pick that is better in the comments. But remember, we do look at Korea just because they test stuff more, research more, and in theory they should find these things a little bit sooner than we do. Anyway, first up, I expected this to rise up a little bit, and it's going to be Xerath. Now, I didn't expect it to be at every single elo though, and actually in Korea right now, even in bronze, this is doing well. I'm sure there's going to be some jokes in the comments about how Korean bronze is the same as like NA diamond. By the way, I'm not getting involved in that one, but normally, right, a full kit of skill shots is not really what you want at lower ranks. Apparently in Korea it is. He is like the anti-mage though, kind of anti-immobile mage in Korea at the moment. So against more mobile picks like Fizz or Ari, Katarina, he's really bad. Against immobile stuff though who can't dodge, he is amazing. So like Victor, Lux, Lissandra, Vlad, Syndra, Ori, all of these he crushes. It really comes down to like, can I poke before you kill me? Basically, like you do a lot of damage though. Mana sustained through like your passive, so he keeps pushing out damage. He's definitely an upcomer even in regions over here. We'll be seeing Xerath a lot more in the 617. Towers mean more. Xerath sets up like outside, fires Q and O, and you get free gold from them. He actually has a really good solo kill rate though, which is something you probably didn't expect. Basically, it's how often they get kills by themselves. Xerath pokes a ton and then he's going to ult people to finish them off. Like, I think that is very underrated actually. Even late game that works, so you can win fights before they even start. So we have the wave clear, which can protect our towers. We have the poke to get their towers. A decent lane phase unless they are mobile. You roam okay with your ultimate, and he suits like 617 pretty perfectly. But also the item builds, Morello, Ludens. Like Morello is mana, cooldown reduction, and AP. It's like the perfect item. Overall, a very solid spot at the moment, and it makes sense he has kind of been played a lot more. Jinx is a bit more obvious. I think I said that she would come up probably, and she has in a massive way in Korea though to become like the best AD carry. It's interesting, but at the moment it seems like bronze, silver, gold, and plat she does much better. Like the top win rate out of any AD carry. In diamond, it's not so much. I think it's like easier to punish her in lane. I think that's kind of what it comes down to. This is one really where it's like the stat websites are not going to pick this up very much. Most use op.gg or champion.gg, which will only display like plat plus win rates, and Jinx is a lower elo monster and is way better than these are going to show in my opinion. Item builds are really good for her at the moment. Like with furthering crits, you deal with tanks even early into the game. The main competition actually though for her in AD carry role was Ashe, Jhin, and Sivir. They all got nerfed. Those three in Twitch were the main reasons her win rate wasn't higher in previous patches. Like they were the only matchups where she had negative win rates. The rest are actually very good. So Jinx really just wants to team fight as a champion, and actually like Ashe, Jhin, Sivir kind of stopped you doing that. Like yes, they team fight for sure, but like Ashe, Jhin, Sivir, they pick fights which are good for them, not necessarily good for you. Put it in an equal 5v5 though, and those rockets with runins will do the work for you. You just click and don't die. Basically the game now is very like snowball early or late game team fight strength, I guess. What it mostly comes down to anyway. Jinx is okay early, has some damage, but just keeps getting better and better. Basically perfect for that style of game. The biggest problem you're going to have is lack of mobility, and you can be punished in lane quite hard, but at lower ranks that's not really going to happen as much anyway, so she will be super good. Now we always look at one specific high elo pick and one specific low elo pick in these videos, and a lower elo pick is going to be Jarvan. This is for top lane especially, but kind of jungle as well. Remember as well, most stat websites, as we just said, are for platinum plus, so this isn't really going to show up there, but when looking just at bronze and silver stats, he's been floating around the top. For jungle, they do go damage, warrior, black cleaver, deadman's, hydra, triforce, random in his GA. That's kind of like the mix. Top lane is more like the hydra build that we're seeing a lot more of. This is what we're going to focus on because it's a relatively new build over from Korea. This build is Titanic Hydra, Triforce, and then Black Cleaver, Sterak's, Deadman's to finish it off. Or I've seen a few actually go more tanky if they need to, like a Titanic Hydra, Black Cleaver, Deadman's. So normally we see like Black Cleaver, Ghostblade, Ravenous Hydra or something for more Assassin Jarvan, but this is kind of combining good damage with being tanky at the same time. After his W buffs especially, like he's harder to kill because he gets more shield. You give him these stats as well and it becomes even harder. In the lane phase, you're quite aggressive. Still, like with Hydra, you can EQ, auto Hydra, auto for a really nasty auto reset trade. In team fights, you're tanky enough to dive into the back line, but damage enough to kill people as really. Now, one thing, it's not really a one-shot build, okay? It's more sustained damage and dueling people. Just as good, but different style. Basically, for the enemy, it's instead of like being killed instantly, you'll be able to watch him as he kills you over a few seconds. Triforce works really well with him though. Definitely an underrated item. Sheen for more burst, Phage to chase. Black Cleaver as well, more armor penetration, especially over a longer fight. And Sterak's increases the Sheen damage and the shield to stay alive. Now this is one you probably didn't see coming. I know I definitely didn't, but my high-elo one is Shaco. In Diamond, he is one of the highest win rates, outperforming basically every single other jungler as it stands right now in 617. He's a very proactive kind of gank gank heavy, only as good as what you really do with him, I guess. If you sit back, it kind of defeats the point of picking him. Most people, though, think Shaco wants to play versus tanks because it's a free early game, you can invade, they can't really fight back. But actually, no. Tanks are statistically his worst matchups in most cases because they outscale him super hard and they're too tanky for him to like prey on past the early few levels. Really, what he wants is weaker carry junglers. So most carry junglers have been nerfed a lot recently. They're all on kind of the same level playing field, though, as strong as each other, I guess. Shaco has been on the side, hasn't really been touched, but can now fight most of these and just like out gank, out pressure, and out invade all of them. I was actually surprised to see in Korea Shaco has a good win rate versus like Lee Sin, Elise, Kha'Zix, Rengar, Gragas, all carry types who I thought would have been able to kill him, but apparently it's the other way around. Shaco is also not as bad as people think later into the game. Like the trend has been more really good early, gank a lot and snowball, for sure one of the best for that. Then he does dip actually, waiting for the 3 items, but after that point he can start to one-shot people again. This kind of assassin style is really what people play now, so like Hydra, Shiv, Infinity Edge, that mean as crit the AD carry and 2-shot them. It's not a massive surprise that Koreans are playing more Shaco when he's a high skill cap damage jungler, but it's surprising that it's working so well and better than others that are more mainstream. Now this is another one that I thought was mainly for high-low, but actually not. Aurelion Sol has had one of the best win rates for a little while in Korea, but this patch he's gotten a lot better at lower ranks too, so that's why I'm going to mention him more. It's interestingly a completely weird ass build that we haven't really seen over here very much at all. Every single Aurelion Sol practically builds the GLP 800. So that is one of the Hextech items that basically nobody gets, but it's the one that slows with the bolts that you shoot out. Then you can get Rylos after that, Leandries, Void Staff, stuff like that. This is definitely not the norm over here, but it's been really successful in Korea and started to move down into lower ranks as well. You kind of basically play this like a Twisted Fate or a Talia, but more damage and more annoying, I guess. Like you use your E to roam bot lane, get back to mid lane, I guess. Just be everywhere on the map and snowball rather than staying in lane and focusing on that. He's much more of a patient and calculated playstyle than most mages, that is for sure, which tends to kind of make people think he's useless, but he's really not. If you use him as a roamer, he is one of the best. They also get Storm Rage's Surge, by the way, and Swiftness Boots, so most of the time, like, I'm not kidding, he just roams constantly. He literally just slows everywhere. He speeds up, never getting away from like him at all, ever, but matchups are really the reason he's out of control over in Korea, for now at least. Victor, LeBlanc, Yasuo, Lux, Vlad, Talia, Anivia, Karma, Lissandra, all very popular, right? And he absolutely crushes them. This is like 53% to almost 60% win rate, which is very high, over 1,000 games in most matchups as well, which is a good sample size. It's often really the picks that can't deal with the constant pushing and pressure he gives off, or can't match like his roaming potential, or both of them. Both is the worst case. If you can't punish him in lane, but you can't help your team when he roams either, then you're kind of just boned. The next one is back to a Korean favorite who comes in and out depending on their mood. It kind of seems like Kayle, mostly top lane actually, but a little bit of mid as well. We say this every single time I talk about her, but it's not to do with Kayle. It's to do with the picks around her and how the general game is. The reason she is back right now is mostly because we're getting to late game team fights a bit more. Like remember, it's snowball really hard really early, or you can come back into the game. Now you are very average before like 3 items, but then after you become a monster, and late game you are one of the best champions over there at the moment, like top 5 win rate that late into the game. Further a battle with Nash's, Rage Raid, Runa's, Wit's End, that's a crazy amount of DPS you can output really, and it's so cheap as well. Like it's really efficient for your gold. Rage Raid is like the only expensive item you need, and in fact a lot of Kayle's losses which lower her win rate are from bad builds, it seems like. So core items like Nash's, Rage Raid, Wit's End, or Runa's, getting those 3 first and actually reaching a point where you have those 3 items so you don't like lost the game before that means you're standing at about a 60 to 65% chance of winning the game. That is actually insane. A 60% chance to win just from holding on in the game until 3 items. That's pretty crazy. Kayle is a weird champion to get used to though, in my opinion. Normally better higher up, but again, coming back in every single rank at the moment, so definitely a good choice overall. Rarely played, rarely touched balance wise, so now will be a good time to play her again if you're good with her. Every single time I talk about Kayle, it feels like I just talk about items and matchups, but that's legit all there is. Like that is all there is to her. Her kit is simple, it's just about how she fits into the game. The jungle has seen a lot more variety coming back in 6.17, right? Another one to benefit has been a vibe. Buffed in 6.17 with quite a few like quality of life things. I think it's more of a case of like, oh, vibe buffs, let's try again. Wow, she's actually strong more than anything else. Warrior, Triforce, and then tank is the way to go. Koreans really do not mess around with Cinderhulk apparently at all, just damage. Actually, the Korean special of an early Guardian Angel is the highest win rate build at the moment. I have no idea why. Warrior, Triforce, Guardian Angel, it seems really dumb, but I guess if you like dive in, you kill people and pop back up after, it's kind of worth it. So it's actually very important though to understand Vi's power points though, like how you use her to win a game. This is often where people go wrong. Early she is pretty bad actually. She doesn't snowball that hard. She can gank, but you have no real way to like end the game that fast or anything. Mid game is really where she shines though, so good engage, engage, good damage, and you can be a real threat. Like with Triforce, you can actually one-shot a mid laner or AD carry, and it gives you a huge boost in a team fight. Late game, you can't really do that anymore. That's when you become less useful and basically like an engage bot who has some damage. The problem is going to be that you can't use the damage you have. Like they will kite you if you can't one-shot them with your ultimate. Matchup-wise, she's like the anti-carry again, a lot like Shaco actually, and funnily enough, has a good win rate versus Shaco as well. Versus tanks, they just outscale you, and even with your W, which is like health damage, overall you're just not going to have too much fun against them. Against anything low health though, you will do pretty well, preying more on like the weaker side of junglers, not so much the top tier ones. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video looking into what Korea is playing right now. Let me know what you all think. Thanks for watching, but for now, let's go to the robots.